Welcome back. Part 2 of what I think is going to be a 3-part series on ranking these car brands. Kind of my comeback to YouTube. We are here. I appreciate all your support. Feel free to leave a like, subscribe, and you're always welcome to comment what stupid things I've said or debate me in the comments. But keep it civil. Alright, without any further ado, Donkervoort. I don't remember the name of their car, but it was a Caterham type car. It was pretty alright. I'm going to give them good because I don't really know much about their cars again. Same with Citroen, Dacia, Daihatsu, as I mentioned in the previous video. I know this isn't really a good comparison, but I drove it on Forza, and it was a fun little thing. Kind of hard to control. It wasn't quite as balanced as the Caterham is. It was a fun little thing that served its purpose, and I don't know much else about Donkervoort, but it was fun. NDS, I'm going to give them good. Exact same reason as Citroen. While I think their economy cars kind of are better, they are a better thing. I think they've had cooler concept cars, so I would put them higher up than Citroen if I could, but I don't think they deserve the great. I think their hot hatches are cool. Again, I don't know much about them. They're a French brand we don't get here in the States. Fiat, atrocious. Fiat Chrysler has been one of the worst things to ever happen in automotive history. All of their cars, except for one, are terrible. All of the 500s. The 595 by Posto, I wanna like, but I can't. I just really can't. The one car that they do make well is the Fiat 125 or 124 Spider, which is actually a Mazda Miata in disguise, so I can't call them on that. I think they are just atrocious. Rounding out the Detroit 3 Ford. As I said in the previous video, I'm a Ford head. Between Chevy and Dodge, I do think both of them deserve to be up in Legendary. They are fantastic American car brands. And while I did say I am kind of biased against the American car brands, in my head, Ford is two different companies between the American side and the kind of European, the rest of the world side. But even still, separate, I would rank them both as legendary. But together, it's a two-part package of legendary. Between the Ford RS 200 in Group B, just the Escort in touring car racing and rally as well. The, again, Focus in same deal. And nowadays with the kind of end of the Focus RS, I really wanted one, and I still really do, but out of my price range. I really want an RS. And then you get on to the Raptor, the Lightning. While I don't necessarily, like I said, while I do love Ford, I think if you're a farm worker, you're doing this, doing that, I think you deserve to have a Chevy. You deserve to buy a Ford if you're just buying a truck to buy a truck. Because between the new Lightning, the previous couple Lightnings, and the Raptor, both, well, the F-150, both gens, I think that you're going to enjoy that much more. That's going to be a much more enjoyable truck. You're going to have fun with it. You're going to be able to off-road. A lot of people, a lot of truck guys especially, talk a lot of crap about the aluminum body Fords. And that's why I said Chevy is the work truck. You're going to put stuff in that bed. You're going to tow stuff. Chevy's going to be your work truck. Ford will be your fun truck. A lot of people will catch me flack for saying that. I like the Fords. But it's 'cause I'm not really a country boy. So I don't need that workhorse. I like the performance personality of the Lightnings and the Raptor. I just think that should kind of be the way it is. And and that's just the truck end. Like I said, the Focus, the RS200, the Escorts, the Sierras, anything Cosworth. Just, I think Ford did it right. While they do have a couple of blemishes on their history, that sounded like a question, but no. Yeah, they've got some blemishes on their history. Just solely as the Pinto. But all car companies have some sort of blemish, and a lot of these car companies would be a lot lower if I were rating them on blemishes. And I kind of am, but at the same time, eh. I don't actually have a clue what this next brand is. There's one more that I saw on this list. It is just going to go to passable because I don't know. But there is one more on this list that I just genuinely have no clue what it is. Geely, I believe these are a Chinese made car. I don't know anything about their cars. I believe they are the owners of Volvo car company. I don't know a whole lot much about their brand other than that they do hold a good stake in a lot of different cars. I don't know if they actually produce cars themselves. I'm going to give them a passable just for what I know that they have done with other car brands. And with the Genesis, Hyundai, Hyundai is a separate brand. You can see it right in the middle down there, but I'm going to give Genesis good. I don't think they've had enough time to prove themselves. I think Genesis was founded in like 2014, 2015, 2016, somewhere in there. It's based on the Hyundai Genesis, and it's another brand owned by Hyundai. Hyundai makes okay cars as well. So, however, GMC, I'm not giving any credit to. I would have put them in bad, but as of recent, their cars have kind of picked up. Well, I say cars, but they're SUVs and trucks. They've picked up recently. So, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and give them a passable. But I would like to give them a bad. Holden, great. Just from, what is it, the Sandman they call it? Or is it the Sandvan? I don't know. It's an Australian car company owned by GM, who owns a lot of these other car brands. Chevy, Holden, Opel, GMC, Cadillac, Buick. Yeah, a lot. They own, and more, and formerly Hummer and Pontiac. But I think Holden went under in 2018, 2019, or not under, but they closed its doors. Just a lot of their cars, the Chevy SS, which was a Holden underneath, they make cool, dumb, powerful cars in the same manner as Dodge. I don't know much about them, because I know a lot about Dodge's history, but I don't know much about Holden's. But for what I do know, they are good, crazy. Now, I put them good, crazy. Dodge is good, psycho. I think that's probably the distinction between the two of them. And I'd probably say the same thing about Cadillac, that they're good, crazy. They don't push the limits too far, but they deliver on them. Honda, legendary. For the reason Acura isn't. Because, as I'd mentioned in the previous video, a lot of Acuras are Hondas. With the NSX, the Integra, Civic, well, I guess Civic was never an Acura, but just for the fact of how good their cars are. I just don't give Acura the credit for them. but I can't fault how good the cars are. So Honda gets it on the exact same reason Acura doesn't. They're fantastic cars, and I think that is kind of double standard. But Hudson, passable. I would say because the only good thing they ever did was the Hudson Hornet, and people only know about it because of cars. Older, kind of more in-depth stock car racers and American race history, people know a lot about the cars. I'm not too deep in American history. I know some, but I'm giving them a passable for the Hudson Hornet, but I don't think they're great. I think they're bad. Just as I did give Genesis a good, Hyundai gets a good. I think their cars are pretty average. I just got rid of my Hyundai. I had a Hyundai Accent 2013. It was a pretty good car. Had a little bit of pep, had plenty of room, was nice. Could have definitely used more visibility. Their cars overall, other than the Hyundai Genesis, aren't great. I'd say they're pretty average. They're solid little cars. I might be biased because I had one. But the new N cars, I think they had one, it was a couple years ago, the i20N, and now they've got the i30N, are great. Veloster and N, not so much. Veloster's kind of garbage, but at the same time, I think they're alright. Between all of their brands, I'd give them a good. Same thing with Infiniti. I think Infiniti doesn't quite capture the essence of probably Cadillac or Holden, where it is kind of a more brute luxury car. I know Holden's not necessarily a luxury car. It's, I want to say, similar to like a Chevy or a Pontiac, whereas it's a good car. It's not a luxury car. It's not a basic car. Well, some Chevys are. It's all there, but it doesn't do much. I don't think they look all that crazy. They don't stand out. I think their name and what they could do I've seen their Daniel Ricciardo commercials, and I think they could stand out. I really think they could. They don't push it. They just kind of stay in line, and they're not bad cars. Not by any means. But I think they play it too safe, and I think they do that. Isuzu? Passable. They're not really a well-known car here in the United States. I know they make trucks, bikes, pretty much any kind of transport thing that you can imagine. Isuzu has a hand in it. Kind of same with Hyundai, because I know they do a lot of trailer and a lot of freighter work. Isuzu's just there. It's not a company that we get a whole lot of here in the States. I don't even know if we get new Isuzus anymore. I know I was at one point going to buy an Isuzu Rodeo. Jaguar, I'm going to give them great. Just between the XKs, the XRs, the E-Type, the F-Type, the F-Pace, the I-Pace, I think they're solid. I don't think they are necessarily super legendary in kind of the same way Aston is. I think they're a higher plane above Aston due to their performance and kind of their brutality, I want to say. Aston Martin is that kind of clean-cut, luxury, powerful being. Jaguar is that aggressive, brutal, with some sophistication. And I think they just do their attitude and all of their marketing and their cars better. In my mindset, Jaguars are a higher plane than Aston. Jeep, bad. Simply put, they're not terrible, not atrocious. They have been good. when AMC used to own them, they were fantastic because I really want a late 70s Jeep Wrangler. I really do. Before Chrysler kind of got their grubby little hands on them and messed them up. And then when Fiat Chrysler came together, that was a solid no. They destroyed Jeep. However, the Trackhawk holds some value in my mind as not necessarily a good car, but a fast car. And I would give Dodge the credit for that. Even though it is a Fiat Chrysler slash Stellantis product. Anything Stellantis for the most part, beside really Dodge, who kind of does their own deal. I mean, they work still. Now we're on to Kia. Kia, passable. Kia had a bad rep for their cars, that they were pretty terrible. I think nowadays, modern times, I think they're all right. I've got two cars. I've got a '09 Lincoln MKZ, and I've got a 2012 Kia Forte with a 5-speed. The Forte is approaching 190,000 miles on it. The Lincoln has about 52,000 miles. But the Kia, there's nothing wrong with it. It's got some rust. The hood latch sucks, but it's broken. That's not Kia's fault. It's a decent car. It does everything it has to do. It's well maintained. Yeah. And the Stinger's a nice little bonus car. I think the goodness of the Stinger and the terribleness of the previous cars, along with most of their cars nowadays, are pretty mediocre. I think it gives them passable grade. They're not bad cars. Koenigsegg. Legendary. Back watching Top Gear with the original trio, I was watching the Stig run test laps in the CCX, I think it was called, back in like 04, 05, 06, something like that, with the Koenigsegg, obviously, and spinning it, and I just thought that was a brutal beast. And to me, Koenigsegg has always been the better Bugatti. While that doesn't really make sense in the fact that Bugattis and Koenigseggs are completely different cars. Bugattis are giant boats with insane horsepower figures that do not turn. They're expensive paperweights. Well, I say paperweights, but very, very, very fast paperweights. Koenigsegg, on the other hand, just the one-to-one, the Regera, the Agera, the Jesko. And along with all of their kind of previous innovations, yes, their cars have kind of looked the same. Yes, they've kept the same philosophy. They're not that old of a car brand. Like I said, something in the odds of 2004-ish is when they started, up to currently still producing cars. I think absolutely they deserve to be legendary, just because from their insane performance, they keep pushing the limits. Because I believe the one-to-one is the only car that has ever had a one-to-one power-to-weight distribution. I might be correct, or might be incorrect on that, but just watching what they can do and what they have done, pushing the same speed limits that Bugatti has, with all of the same ability to go sicko mode, essentially, that they just go like hell. They just do. I think they deserve to be legendary. KTM, motorcycle company, done cars. That's going to be kind of hard to see. Kind of gray on gray, whereas you can kind of see the black. But the gray on gray, not so much. But KTM, they're good. I like the Crossbow. I think they've been doing good with the Crossbow GT4 or Expo, however you pronounce it. I really think that they're all right. I would love to own one, love to drive one, and their motorcycle game is fantastic. Their cars are all right. Lamborghini, legendary. From Mr. Tractor Man to Mr. Supercar. They deserve every single ounce of credit for probably being one of the most radical car companies, at least in design terms, with their appearance. To the screaming V12s, like Ferrari, the screaming V10s, the Rambo Lambo, the predecessor, the Cheetah, and the Urus. I think Lamborghini has done just about everything right ever, from bouncing back from bankruptcy several times to the crazy imaginative cars that they create. I think Lamborghini's done everything right. Period. Lancia, however you pronounce it. I say Lancia. Great. Just from their insane rally stories with the 00 or the 037, I was going to say the 007, the 037 having the cardboard roll cage swerving around the homologation rules, the deltas, while they have failed in recent times with the Ypsilon or however you pronounce it. I hope that Lancia comes back one day because their history is very strong, and if it wasn't for their modern cars and kind of their downfall, I'd put them in legendary. But their modern cars, which you'll see in a couple of these other brands, will kill them. They will ruin a lot of their potential and their heritage. Land Rover, also great. Legendary. I'm upping it. They deserve it. Not only from as early back as the Series 3 to nowadays, their cars have become a little more tame. I would call them one of the kings of off-road. You don't typically think of one of them going off-road because they are kind of for soccer moms and like rich ho ho ho. Oh, that was French, but you know what I mean. Like uppity people. I think they deserve it. They've always made pretty decent, well done trucks. From the Defender, the Discovery, the Range Rover, the Evoque not so much, but the Series 3, I'd say anything from pre-war to the 70s and after. There's a chunk there that I don't really know about in their history, so I don't want to completely base it off that. That's why a lot of these other brands get a passable grade, because they've done enough right to stay alive. But the one chunk that I don't know about, and just about everything I know about with Land Rover, while they are terribly unreliable, yeah, I think they're pretty good cars. Lexus, good. Good. Yeah, I I don't know much else to say. I feel the exact same way about Infiniti as I do Lexus. Lexus, no, I'll bump them up just because of the LFA. I would say I feel like they play it way too safe. I don't feel like they do anything too crazy imaginative. A lot of them are beefed up Toyotas in my mind. I think they could be better, but the LFA is a really strong hitter for them. Lincoln, good. They're just good. It's hard to see there also next to KTM. I think Lincoln, which is the reason I own one, I think they make pretty okay luxury cars. They're no Audi, no Beamer, no Cadillac. Oh, no, I wouldn't even say that. I'd say Lincoln's better than Cadillac, but they're no Audi, no Beamer, no Mercedes, no Aston. They're not like that. I'd say they're a cheap luxury car. They are that car for your kind of slow daily living in luxury. But they're not stripped down like you might find like a Chevy Cruze or a Ford Focus. In fact, my grandpa just bought a brand new EcoSport, Ford EcoSport, and he walked through it with me. He went through all the little features and everything. My '09 Lincoln, made by, well, Lincoln at the time. Well, I say at the time, but still is owned by Ford. I know Lincoln's closing its doors soon, or they just did. Lincoln or Ford's just going to produce Fords now because Mercury's been dead since '08, and Lincoln's going to be shutting down here soon. My '09 Lincoln, who's owned by Ford, had all of the exact same features and a little bit more, subjectively, I guess, than his EcoSport. Obviously, with it being a bigger vehicle, heavier vehicle, my Lincoln, it doesn't get quite as good gas mileage. It does have more cylinders. It's got a V6 versus inline 4. So it's a little bit more of a gas hog. But it's got its heated air conditioned seats. It's got the like electric seats, the movable, I think it's 11-way adjustable seats. Same with his EcoSport did. It's got the Bluetooth audio for a car from 2009. It's got Bluetooth connective audio. I can download my whole phone book's installed in the car. I can play my music through my phone. I've got an iPhone 12 that plays through it. It just it does. It does everything that his car did or his EcoSport does. The one difference beside like gas mileage and obviously the whole car was my seats are more comfortable, and he's got a backup camera in his car. He's got the little display screen on his car, the touch screen. I don't, but it's again, mine's an '09 versus I think it's a 2020, so 11-year difference. It has all the same features. His has the backup camera with the screen. Mine just has the sensor. If I get too close to something, it starts screaming at me. A sensor versus a camera is the difference in about 11 years. I think the outside of my Lincoln could probably use a little bit of updating, but I also think it's not 2009 anymore. I think it's a solid car. I don't think it's anything great. I would still choose my Lincoln over that. Alright, Lotus. Legendary. I go back to the F1 cars. I know I really shouldn't be, but the whole domination of Team Lotus, and even modern times, what was it, 2015 with Grosjean and Kimi, to the Exige, the Elise, the Evora, the Lotus 11, the Lotus Elan, the 211, the 311. Lotus, and I don't even remember what they were called. I just saw them briefly this year at the Goodwood Festival of Speed. I mean, I didn't go, but on the live stream, when the Duke drove the new ones up, they got an all-new electric and a new version that looks similar to an Evora. I'm going to end this with Maserati, and then we'll finish up the rest of them next time. Maserati, gotta give them a terrible. Nowhere near as bad as Fiat. They're just garbage. The old history ones, well, let me start off by saying Maseratis have never been reliable. They're terrible. I love their Trident. I love their Essence. I love all of it. But I wouldn't own a new Maserati. The MC12 is cool. The Quattroporte is cool, but I wouldn't own one. The Ghibli, no. I do like the old Bipostos from, I believe those were the late 80s, early 90s. I don't think they're good. I think they're good looking. I think they would be fun to own for a day or two. I think they'd be a fun little thing to drive. If you own hundreds of cars, maybe buy a Maserati. Ending on Maserati feels terrible, but that's it for part 2. We're gonna keep this going. I'll have part 3 up shortly after part 2 here is up. I'd just like to say thank you all for watching. Have a nice day. Make sure to like. Feel free to debate me in the comments. Make sure to leave a subscribe so you can keep catching these. I'm going to do different tier lists, obviously racing, very much a car channel. Appreciate all your effort, all your time. Thank you very much for watching. See you in part 3.